when just one movie, or 4 movies, isn't enough. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 long-running film franchises. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. Well, it's the first Saturday of the month, so that means it's time for another episode of the Movie Nerds Club. In honor of the release of the 9th Fast and Furious movie later this month, we decided to dedicate this month's episode to franchises rather than individual movies. After you watch my top long-running franchise picks, make sure you check out the other members of the Movie Nerds Club. LC Screen Talk, Lost in the Reel, Rachel's Reviews, Ren Geekness, Ryan Cam, and Zach Pope. Links to their videos are in the description below. It's hard to believe, but this is actually our 10th month of the Movie Nerds Club. And so we decided to mix it up a little bit this month and actually talk about film franchises rather than just individual solitary films. We decided to focus on long-running franchises, and there are a lot of different ways to define that, but we decided that basically any film franchise with 5 or more movies was fair game. And let me tell you, there are a lot of franchises with 5 or more films in them. Luckily, I didn't actually have too much trouble narrowing down to my top 5. But I did have a really hard time ordering the top 5. So my ranking here is kind of based on a mix of things, like average rating of all of the films in the franchise, the strength of connectivity among the films, how often I find myself coming back to them, sort of a very unscientific mix. So don't put too much stock in the actual order of these top 5, because they're really hard to judge against each other. Remember, these are just my top franchises, not the top franchises, so be sure to post your own personal top long-running film franchises in the comments below. Alright, let's get this top list started. Coming in at number 5, Mission Impossible. So this franchise technically has its roots all the way back in the 60s with the Mission Impossible TV show, but as a film franchise, this is run from 1996 to present. There are currently 6 movies in the franchise, with the 7th headed our way next year. So there are minimal character and plot connections to the TV show, but the films have all connected to each other fairly well. It starts off a little episodic, kind of a holdover from the show, but by the time we get to the later films, they really flow into each other story-wise, and of course, we've got the Ethan Hunt connection throughout the series. Like a few other franchises that are coming later in this list, Mission Impossible is a series that's evolved quite a bit over the course of its films. You can take a look at the first movie and the latest, and it's almost hard to believe that they're part of the same franchise. What began as a stylish and atmospheric espionage thriller has become one of the most consistently awe-inspiring action franchises ever. The action sequences and stunts, especially from the 4th film on, are beyond impressive and have a degree of practicality to them that we don't see in a lot of other big action franchises. I don't love every movie in the franchise, and of all the franchises that made my top 5, this is the one that I rewatch least often, but it definitely earns its spot in the list. Coming in at number 4, Bond. James Bond. Not only is this the second spy franchise to make the list, but it's also the longest running franchise to make the list, running from 1962 to present. There are a few unofficial films, but the official Eon-produced franchise is currently up to 24 movies, with the 25th, No Time to Die, headed our way in October. I have spent a lot of time on this franchise in the last year and a half, rewatching them all and releasing reviews of every single one, so definitely check those out if you want my specific insight on the individual films. There are certainly plenty to choose from. Out of all the franchises on this list, James Bond is easily the most varied and least interconnected. James Bond is the titular star of every film in the franchise, but he's been portrayed by 6 different actors. It makes sense, considering the franchise turns 60 years old next year, but it introduced a lot of variation, because each actor had a very different style, which significantly influenced the films they were in. So even though, say, Roger Moore and Daniel Craig play the same character, they do it in very different ways. On top of that, this was a very episodic film franchise until fairly recently. Before the Craig era, there weren't significant story connections from one film to the next, so the events of a previous film rarely had any bearing on the characters or plot. In spite of that, and a handful of weak films, this is a franchise that I often find myself returning to. Coming in at number 3, Fast and Furious. Well, I couldn't leave off this month's topic inspiration. This franchise has run from 2001 to present and currently has 8 films and a spin-off, with a ninth movie, F9, headed our way at the end of this month. This is another franchise I've been spending a lot of time on, reviewing my way through, so again, check those videos out if you want individual film insight. As a whole, this franchise is utterly absurd. It's completely ridiculous, but in the best ways possible. It's probably the worst franchise on the list, objectively speaking, but subjectively, I love these movies. They're so dumb, but they're just such an enjoyable set of films for me that I find myself rewatching all the time. Similar to Mission Impossible earlier, Fast and Furious is a franchise that has significantly evolved over the years. The first movie was essentially an unofficial remake of Point Break, substituting street racing for the surfing. It was a little action crime movie about stealing DVD players and driving fast. But over the last really decade of this franchise, they've really shifted gears and cranked things up. The main characters are essentially superheroes at this point, and the stunts defy both gravity and logic. But there's something so enticing about the franchise's need to one-up itself with each new movie. And even though the stories are frequently convoluted and ridiculous, the characters always keep me truly invested. It's been so satisfying watching these characters develop over the years. And so the action keeps it fun and exciting, but it's the family that draws you back in. Coming in at number 2, Harry Potter. I'm focusing on just Harry Potter here and not the Wizarding World franchise, so this is actually the only franchise on the list that is complete. It ran from 2001 to 2011 and had 8 films. I've got to admit that despite me putting this list together, I'm a little surprised at how high this franchise came in. I've never really considered myself a big Harry Potter fan, but thinking about it, it has been a pretty consistent part of my life. I remember getting the first book at the school book fair a few months after it came out, and I did read each book as it was released. I haven't reread them, but I've certainly rewatched the movies countless times. Out of all the franchises in this list, this is easily the most interconnected, probably in large part because it's the only one whose source material was a narrative book series. So the stories and ideas and character development all build on each other and carry over from film to film in a fairly logical, cumulative way. A couple of the movies aren't my favorites, and I do tend to like the early half of the franchise much more than the latter half, but there's something very enjoyable and enveloping about the series, even for somebody who's not a huge fantasy fan. Nostalgia certainly had a hand in that, as did ABC Family's insistence on showing a Harry Potter marathon seemingly every weekend for years. So this is a franchise that sort of sneakily crept up on me as a favorite, without me even realizing it. So that means my number 1 long-running franchise is the MCU. I'm sure this is going to make just about everybody's list, so probably not a big surprise here. The Marvel Cinematic Universe has run from 2008 to present and currently has 23 films, with the 24th, Black Widow, headed our way next month. So at first, I was a little hesitant about including the MCU in my list, but the movie nerds made the decision that cinematic universes were fair game, so how do you not include this one? I know there are people who live and breathe the MCU, so even though I've rewatched these movies more times than I can count over the years, I would still consider myself a casual MCU fan in comparison. So it might seem a little surprising then that this is my number 1, but this is just too consistently good of a franchise for it not to be. I mean, this is the second biggest franchise on this list, and will be tied for the biggest next month, yet it's just a few hundredths of a point away from having my highest average rating of any of the franchises on this list, which is pretty impressive. It means that for me, this is a really consistently enjoyable franchise. And even though the stories and characters obviously don't all tie into every single other movie, and the films comprise a wide variety of subgenres, the level of interconnectedness inherent to the cinematic universe is almost mind-boggling, which is just another impressive thing about this franchise. There are a couple movies in the series I don't love, but the level of rewatchability here is practically infinite. Alright, so there you have it, my top 5 long-running film franchises. What are your top franchises with 5 or more movies? Be sure to post your own ranking in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the pics of the other members of the Movie Nerds Club. Also, if you're interested in buying any of the movies I mentioned today, I do have affiliate links to all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information on this top list, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.